Section 18 of The Coming Race. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Reading by Mary Rohde. The Coming Race by Edward George Bulwer Lytton. Chapter 25, Part 2. When I awoke some hours later and heard the songs of the birds in the adjoining aviary, the remembrance of Taee's sister, her gentle looks and caressing words vividly returned to me. And so impossible is it for one born and reared in our upper world's state of society to divest himself of ideas dictated by vanity and ambition, that I found myself instinctively building proud castles in the air. "Tish though I be," thus ran my meditations, "tish though I be, it is then clear that Zee is not the only Gy whom my appearance can captivate. Evidently I am loved by a princess, the first maiden of this land, the daughter of the absolute monarch whose autocracy they so idly seek to disguise by the republican title of chief magistrate. But for the sudden swoop of that horrible Zee, this royal lady would have formally proposed to me, and though it may be very well for Aph Lin, who is only a subordinate minister, a mere commissioner of light, to threaten me with destruction if I accept his daughter's hand, yet a sovereign, whose word is law, could compel the community to abrogate any custom that forbids intermarriage with one of a strange race, and which in itself is a contradiction to their boasted equality of ranks. It is not to be supposed that his daughter, who spoke with such incredulous scorn of the interference of parents, would not have sufficient influence with her royal father to save me from the combustion to which Aph Lin would condemn my form. And if I were exalted by such an alliance, who knows but what the monarch might elect me as his successor? Why not? Few among this indolent race of philosophers like the burden of such greatness. All might be pleased to see the supreme power lodged in the hands of an accomplished stranger, who has experience of other and livelier forms of existence. And once chosen, what reforms I would institute! What additions to the really pleasant but too monotonous life of this realm my familiarity with the civilized nations above ground would effect! I am fond of the sports of the field. Next to war, is not the chase a king's pastime? In what varieties of strange game does this nether world abound! How interesting to strike down creatures that were known above ground before the deluge! But how? By what terrible vril, in which, from want of hereditary transmission, I could never be a proficient? No, but by a civilized, handy breech loader, which these ingenious mechanicians could not only make, but no doubt improve. Nay, surely I saw one in the museum. Indeed, as absolute king, I should discountenance vril altogether, except in cases of war. Apropos of war, it is perfectly absurd to stint a people so intelligent, so rich, so well armed, to a petty limit of territory sufficing for 10,000 or 12,000 families. Is not this restriction a mere philosophical crotchet, at variance with the aspiring element in human nature, such as has been partially, and with complete failure, tried in the upper world by the late Mr. Robert Owen? Of course one would not go to war with the neighbouring nations as well armed as one's own subjects. But then, what of those regions inhabited by races unacquainted with vril, and apparently resembling, in their democratic institutions, my American countrymen? One might invade them without offence to the vril nations, our allies, appropriate their territories, extending perhaps to the most distant regions of the nether earth, and thus rule over an empire in which the sun never sets. I forgot in my enthusiasm that over those regions there was no sun to set. As for the fantastical notion against conceding fame or renown to an eminent individual, because, forsooth, bestowal of honours ensures contest in the pursuit of them, stimulates angry passions, and mars the felicity of peace, it is opposed to the very elements, not only of the human, but of the brute creation, which are all, if tameable, participators in the sentiment of praise and emulation. What renown would be given to a king who thus extended his empire? I should be deemed a demigod. Thinking of that, the other fanatical notion of regulating this life by reference to one which, no doubt, we Christians firmly believe in, but never take into consideration, I resolved that enlightened philosophy compelled me to abolish a heathen religion so superstitiously at variance with modern thought and practical action. Musing over these various projects, I felt how much I should have liked at that moment to brighten my wits by a good glass of whiskey and water. Not that I am habitually a spirit drinker, but certainly there are times when a little stimulant of alcoholic nature, taken with a cigar, enlivens the imagination. Yes, certainly among these herbs and fruits there would be a liquid from which one could extract a pleasant vinous alcohol. And with a steak cut off one of those elks. Ah, what offence to science to reject the animal food which our first medical men agree in recommending to the gastric juices of mankind. One would certainly pass a more exhilarating hour of repast. Then, too, instead of those antiquated dramas performed by childish amateurs, certainly when I am king I will introduce our modern opera and a corps de ballet, for which one might find, among the nations I shall conquer, young females of less formidable height and thews than the Gy ei, not armed with vril, and not insisting upon one's marrying them. I was so completely wrapped in these and similar reforms, political, social, and moral, calculated to bestow on the people of the nether world the blessings of a civilization known to the races of the upper, that I did not perceive that Z had entered the chamber till I heard a deep sigh, and, raising my eyes, beheld her standing by my couch. I need not say that according to the manners of this people, a Gy can, without indecorum, visit an An in his chamber, although an An would be considered forward and immodest to the last degree if he entered the chamber of a Gy without previously obtaining her permission to do so. Fortunately I was in the full habiliments I had worn when Z had deposited me on the couch. Nevertheless I felt much irritated as well as shocked by her visit, and asked in a rude tone what she wanted. "Speak gently, beloved one, I entreat you," said she, "for I am very unhappy. I have not slept since we parted." "As due sense of your shameful conduct to me as your father's guest might well suffice to banish sleep from your eyelids. Where was the affection you pretend to have for me? Where was even that politeness on which the vril-ya pride themselves, when, taking advantage alike of that physical strength in which your sex in this extraordinary region excels our own, and of those detestable and unhallowed powers which the agencies of vril invest in your eyes and finger ends, you exposed me to humiliation before your assembled visitors, before her Royal Highness, I mean the daughter of your own chief magistrate, carrying me off to bed like a naughty infant, and plunging me into sleep without asking my consent? Ungrateful! Do you reproach me for the evidences of my love? Can you think that, even if unstung by the jealousy which attends upon love till it fades away in blissful trust, when we know that the heart we have wooed is one, I could be